The art of riding, if you want to call it that, is to create symmetry and balance. Your saddle needs to facilitate that. So everything you do needs to be working towards creating symmetry and balance. And it should look symmetrical and should look balanced as well. Horses were a family passion. You know, on my mom's side, there was horses in her history. You know, her dad had a horse and cart, I believe, and my oldest sister and oldest brother both enjoy being around horses. My sister did it as a career for some time, and you know, whenever she went to work at a farm, if I could go with her and stay there, I would. And you know, for sure, take riding lessons and work in the barn, and you know, and just totally enjoy being around them. I was working in the horse industry, but nothing really to do with horses. So I was working for a wholesale company selling. So I would drive up and down the countryside writing orders at tack shops that sell horse equipment. And you might get to talk about horses all day, but you're not anywhere near them, you're not having anything to do with them. So I really sat down, wrote a list of things, new career path. What is going to give me everything that I want in a career? So that involved actually getting to be around the horses, helping them. As I was writing down all these career paths, saddlery kept jumping out because another component of what I wanted for myself was it had to be a trade. It had to be, you know, working with your hands, a skill, and a trade in the true sense, you know, with your tools and your skill and your ideas culminating into something, you know. And for me, saddlery, it just touched on every single point, but also it's a completely underserviced market. Sounds over the top to say this, but you're guaranteed work if you're any good at it, because the demand is there. It's certainly a passion that grew, because when I got into it, it was not necessarily the idea of making saddles, because that was a skill level beyond what I could even imagine when I got started. Smell is probably the biggest part. It's really interesting. Everything about horses, the smell of leather is so wrapped up in it. And it's funny, the first thing people say when they walk in my shop is the first comment out of their mouth is always how beautiful it smells in there. I don't ever take that for granted. Every day I walk in there and I think, yeah, it just feels right. It feels like, you know, that's where you belong. And so the smell of it, for sure. The leather itself, it's a great medium to work in if you want. Every time I venture away from it, if I try to make something out of, you know, a canvas messenger bag or something, it just doesn't have the same appeal. Leather is the best thing to work in my opinion, for me. How it feels, how it goes together, how it works. But when it's a finished product, yeah, it's just that leather creaks, you know, when you know, a nice quality leather just feels great. Key things for saddle production are you know, a good quality heavy duty sewing machine. Your hand tools are, you know, everything from a high quality pair of scissors to awls, thread, needles. And probably the most kind of iconic thing people think of with working with leather is it's called a round knife, and it's just, you know, literally shaped like a half moon. And it's something that if people see it, they may not know what it's called or where it's from, but they know it's to do with leather making. The tree is what gives the saddle its shape, and the tree you select needs to be the shape of the horse. Leather, I call it taking something that's one-dimensional and making it three-dimensional. The idea is that you're trying to shape this leather around this tree. All these lines that you're trying to get to converge and flow. Not only does it have to look good, but functional-wise, everywhere you put a seam, everywhere you put a stitch line, or you're layering more than one piece of leather, it has to be in a strategic spot so that it doesn't bother the horse or the rider. Parts of the saddle you're soaking in hot water and molding it around and then letting it dry. And the beauty of that leather, it stays that shape. The sewing machines that are used in the leather industry can sew through, an inch thick of leather. They're very powerful. The motors that run them are rated in horsepower. There's a lot of torque and force in a machine. The hand sewing that goes into a saddle, you're always using an awl, and you're creating a pilot hole first and then putting your needle and thread through. So you're never, it is hard on your hands, but you can make your life a lot easier by being careful with the awl and making a nice hole before you force the needle through, and having a good pattern helps too, so that your stitching, your goal should be to make your stitching as easy as possible. You're kind of building the saddle in layers as you go, and at the end, you can see that it's very much a three-dimensional item. With saddles, they are worth thousands and thousands of dollars. No matter what they're made out of, they still have to function the same way. So there'll always be a need for someone to have to finesse that fit or fit them to the horse. And they're always going to break. Horses are large animals. Pounds per square inch of force and pressure on a saddle, they are going to break. So you're always going to need that person qualified to make those repairs, because you're not just going to walk away from a $6,000–7,000 saddle and say, well, I'll just get a new one. But that's for sure what drives everything, is just that at the end of the day, somebody trusts you to make that saddle fit their horse. And you have to bear in mind the level of trust that person needs in you or has in you. It's a really cool feeling, because their horse is their passion, right? And they want what's best for their horse.